another episode of Paying for Purpose. Man, life has a funny way of testing you, of challenging you. Today I don't really have any specific topic in mind. Just going to talk about some challenges or the idea, the concept, when life starts throwing you curveballs and just frustrations. Like I said, but all the work that I've done, the self-growth, the personal development, everything helps you combat that and helps you leverage that and work on that. But there's still good days and there's bad days. And right now, currently, my current employer, I won't name them, but there's just some frustrations on my end, just some communication. I'm having difficulties processing. And it just comes back to the basic idea of communication and how important that is in life and growth and building relationships and building trust. Communication is key. I'm a big believer in effective and authentic communication. Something that can break businesses. It's something that can build businesses up. Same with relationships. It's something that can break relationships if you're not communicating effectively with your spouse, with your family, with your siblings, with your friends. A lot of things can go unsaid. A lot of things can get twisted or not said. A lot of friendships, relationships, if there's not effective communication, that's the foundation of what that relationship is built on. And, I've been a part of some ineffective relationships over the course of my lifetime. And as I've looked back on them, I've reflected, and a lot of it's been on myself. Not being an effective communicator, being selfish, thinking only of a win for myself, not a win-win for everybody. Maybe maybe asking something more of a friend, of a family member, of my spouse even, of my wife, asking more than what I'm giving, right? There's got to be some give and take. And even today, even in the struggles that I'm going through currently with work and some other communications, I find myself sometimes shooting myself in the foot, not being effective, trying to be effective, maybe trying too hard to be effective when really communication is just a simple reaching out, making a phone call, sending the right email. Basic communication is key in anything that you do, any relationship building, any business running, anything that you want to do in life. If you're a parent, parenting, communication is key, right? Praising your kids, disciplining your kids, saying the right things, or it doesn't have to be the right things, proper things. And so back to communication about relationship, you got to have some give and take. You got to be willing to offer some communication. It's very key. It's very vital. Reaching out to friends, being intentional about communicating, being intentional about building relationship. Because, if you go on life without saying what's on your mind, and there's a right way to do it, no question. You don't have to be malicious. You don't have to be, you don't have to have ill will intentions when you're trying to effectively communicate what's on your mind. But I do believe as I'm growing personally in my self-growth, something that I'm coming to find out is that my opinions matter and my values matter and my feelings matter. That's something that I've held a lot of things in my life. And when I hold things in personally, I can speak on my behalf. When I hold things in, I start to build resentment. I start to build frustration. I start to build anxiety, anxious thoughts. And that's not healthy. And so I've been practicing. I've been being more intentional with just trying to share in the moment when my feelings pop up, whether it's with my wife, being honest about my feelings, not being afraid, speaking that, right? I don't want to hurt her. It's not my intentions, but I need to have respectful boundaries. And I think that's healthy in any relationship, whether it's your spouse, coworker, friend, families, whatever that is. You got to be honest with each other. Today, it's been the topic of work the last couple weeks. Since I took over this role, there's a lot of communication breakdown that was happening before I got there, and looked at myself as an effective communicator within the workplace, and I'm being challenged. There's no questions about that. There's trying to repair communication, and it's just very apparent to me and evident how important effective communication is. So I encourage you, wherever you are in your day-to-day, whether it's your relationships with your spouse, with your kids, with family, with friends, or even if it's a coworker or a boss or whoever it might be in your life that you're dealing with right now and there's not the best communication, the simplest thing I can say is just have a conversation. Go over it once or twice in your head, how you want it to see it. Set the intentions for good, that you don't want to harm anybody or hurt anybody's feelings. But be respectful to yourself. Trust yourself that the things that you say are valid, the things that you want to say do matter, your feelings do matter, your voice does matter. Everybody has a voice and should have a voice and should be heard and respected. There can be disagreements. There's no questions. I'm not saying every time I say anything communication-wise that I expect the other party to agree, because that would just be nonsense. But I do believe everybody's voice should be heard, and there can be healthy disagreements. That's how growth happens. That's where growth takes place, is in those difficult conversations. Because then you can learn how to operate with each other. You can build on each other's strengths and weaknesses, and then you can build something cohesively together that's even more stronger than when you initially started. So communication, for me, there's a lot of pain and ineffective communication over my life in all aspects. And that's something that I'm trying to better. I'm working on it. I'm not perfect. I still challenge myself, but I'm aware of it now. And it's being aware of those ineffective communication channels, striving to be better. I'm trying to be better. That's my purpose, right? Is to have more effective communication. And you just got to enjoy the process. Like anything else, there's challenges, right? You got to accept them. And if you want to grow, if you want to improve, you make the changes. You adapt, you reflect, you look at yourself. Okay, maybe I'm not an effective communicator in that dynamic. How can I fix that? Maybe they took my tone wrong. They took my words wrong. Okay, how can I fix that? How can I come back next time and be more effective, be more understanding, and more relatable? Communication, man, it's key in every aspect, every relationship. I encourage you, pick up a book on communication. Listen to some stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of good stuff out there on effective communication, because it's not easy. And, the longer you hold stuff in, the more resentment you're going to build up, the more frustration, the more anger. And then you might not even ever say anything. And what I have found out is that causes self-doubt in me. That causes limiting beliefs in myself, because then I'm like, oh, look at that. You're not going to say anything. You don't have the guts. You're not worthy, right? So it can have a huge negative effect. Just find that way where you can express yourself in a healthy way, in a fair way. And I promise you, it's not going to be that bad. We always tend to overthink what difficult communication could look like or what it might end up being like. But when you're said and done and it's over, more often than not, you walk away and you go, man, that wasn't that bad. That was actually pretty easy. And I was heard. And my opinions matter and their opinions matter. And we came to an agreement, or we settled on a solution, or hey, we were both just thinking the same thing in a different perspective, right? So communicate. Effectively communicate. Try it. It's not easy. You just got to be honest with yourself, but look at yourself and how can you be a better communicator? And I promise when you do that, you will improve yourself and improve your life. Until next time.